What's up? What's up? What's up? It's Randy Byrd, and I'm super excited to be here for Tuesday Titans Live. And today I've got a big Titan in the house. You see his face right there. No secrets, but if you don't know this guy, let me introduce him to you. His name is Tim McCall from the McCall team. I met him in Napa and did business with him for years, but this guy is a beast. I'm really excited to have him. But let me give you a little background on Tim. 11 years in real estate. He's was previously the number one agent at his last company, Bradley, before KW, right?
That's right.
Went to KW doing 25 million a year in volume, which is really quite amazing. But then I watched as you stepped in and went to 31 million, 47 million, 56 million, 72 million, and your biggest year, if I'm not mistaken, $81 million in annual production, which is definitely in the top, half of 1% in the nation. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's up there, right?
That's it's up there.
It's up there. Has a team in Napa still, the McCall team, his wife Trish, and built that team, and she runs. Trish. Oh, I'm sorry, Mom Trish. You're right, Mom Trish. And Trish is a fine lady. I know her, so and I'm sure you have a beautiful wife. We're going to talk about too. But Mom Trish is your partner in Napa, and then where are you in the world right now? Just the name of the city. We're going to get into the story.
Yes, Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri. So now you're a coach, and now you took over the team leader role in that greater Springfield Keller Williams Market Center, and over 500 agents on the roster. Pretty significant. One of the top offices in the franchise. I was a KW guy, still bleed red, still teach the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and the One Thing. So it's just my absolute pleasure to invite you into the show today, Tuesday Titans. Tim McCall, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Randy. I just can't even tell you, when we got to chat the other day and talk about potentially doing this, it got me really excited to come alongside and hopefully be of value and benefit to your listeners, your watchers, your audience, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share a little bit about, just the real estate team side of things, but also as we talked about, potentially sharing the story of how everything kind of pivoted out of nowhere and why I ended up in Springfield, Missouri, because people will often ask me, it's like, wait, you moved from where and you moved here? We
have to talk about that, bro, because the other day when we talked, I was literally on the edge of my seat listening to your story. And we shared some similarities in that, but COVID changed a lot of things for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it was a major restructuring of how people view our country, not just our lives in general, I think. Building a real estate team and finding talent and, restructuring based on people's strengths and weaknesses. And, I personally suck at a lot of things, Randy. I don't know about you, but there are certain things I do really well. And on our team, we have a funny little saying that when we screw up, we go, I have other skills.
This is not my only skill set.
Yes. And so, creating a great client experience is what it all comes down to. And whether it's actual buyers, sellers, investors, or if it's agents and or realtors with a brokerage. So, it all came down to the growth is finding talented people that can fill the gaps of our lives, and so that we can have that life worth living in the process of growing a big business. So
I love that, dude. And I remember I got goosebumps multiple times when we chatted before, and they're real. And I'm getting them again with that statement. And that's just why I think you're such a great fit for Tuesday Titans. And we've had some amazing guests on the show. We've had Dr. John Gray from Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, world-renowned author. Had Tanya Meme, Miss World Canadian Universe or something. And now the host of A&E's Sell This House. We've had just some really spectacular guests, and I put you right up in that category. And I'm excited to unfold this for people. So, number one, let's walk back through the journey of where you are today. How did you end up in Springfield, Missouri? And you guys have this $80 million team in Napa, one of the most beautiful places on the planet by many measurements, and one of my personal faves, right? I'm still trying to find good wine in Oregon. Nothing personal against my Oregon peeps, but coming from Napa, it's really challenging. Everybody's like, you have to try this. This is going to blow your mind. I'm like, nope, not it. And it's just, it's something special. But Well,
You
here you
get
are in,
spoiled.
we'll say again.
You get spoiled. That's for
Oh,
sure.
it
That's
totally
right.
spoiled. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. But
Yeah.
so here you are crushing it. KW, Napa, really in a leadership role in that. You were the team leader there, right?
Yep.
Then
So it's
also you
funny
went,
because yeah, it's funny because the McCall team, our actual hub technically is Sonoma County. But when
okay,
it comes to the greater Napa Valley, Sonoma County wine country area, I mean, we even go down to Marin County on occasion for listings and buyers needs and stuff like that. So Northern California, so just north of the Golden Gate Bridge, we pretty much can handle pretty much most things up north of there.
and
But yeah,
I'm guilty of saying that as well. I was actually in Santa Rosa, Windsor, but
yeah.
somebody speaking from outside the area, it's like Napa or Sonoma. It's kind of all blended.
It is. It is. You say,
The
"Oh,
North
from
Bay.
Sonoma County," they're like, "Where?" And I'm not sure. And you go Napa Valley, and they go, "Oh, okay, yeah." Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, to kind of answer your question and kind of maybe start down this path, being the number one real estate team for Keller Williams in the North Bay, if you will, kind of for during that time period before the region of Keller Williams really started kind of asking me to start teach and show up here and would you talk here and things like that. And I was flying around all over Bellingham, Washington. I was going out to see Kristen Cole in Arizona. I was flying all over the place to really take Chris Suarez's class on how to hire, and John Davis was really big at that time, and
Ben
going out
Kinney.
to Austin, Texas. Yeah, and Ben Kinney, exactly. And so I got to meet, know, and really interact with a lot of those top people. And this more than most, I would say, rubbing shoulders with the best is a way to definitely up your game. Your game, yeah. And so I would come back, and my team would almost get upset when I would come back because they'd be like, "Oh no, Tim's really inspired. We gotta look out. Tim's got some big vision stuff he wants to lay on us. And as a visionary more than a implementary, or I don't know. They call me the great implementer, but I would say that it's because they want to. I want them to help me do it. I'm not an alone type person. I very rarely am able to accomplish anything close to when I'm actually alongside someone, when I'm doing something with someone.
Interesting.
So yeah, but to go down this path, I'll say, as I was starting to get more involved with the region, and I started teaching Quantum Leap on a pretty regular basis for not just young people, but for agents, and to kind of just grow the exposure of what that class alone can do for people. And in the process of that, I ran into some really good friends within the region. Rick Cunningham, who I'm sure you've known or heard of, and he is awesome. And he asked me to help launch the Napa Valley Keller Williams office more than it was. It was kind of a mega agent office, so small little 10 to 12 agent type office. And so I came on as the director of growth, and then the gal that they had kind of been trying as the team leader, she ended up stepping out of the role. And so I kind of left this vacancy, this vacuum, and I ended up buying a property in Napa. So I kind of moved my family to that, make that my primary residence. And so we started growing that office, and we grew it to about I'd say we grew by 112 agents in a very small area pretty quickly, which was really fun, but very stressful. There was a lot to take on rather than just having my real estate team and then taking that on as well. And then the San Francisco office needed some support. And so I ended up kind of stepping in to kind of drive between San Francisco and Napa Valley on occasion to adjust that. And I got too busy again, Randy. One thing that is really great is when you get leveraged and then you have a life worth living in the process of having an actual business worth owning. Well, I got too busy again, and I came home one day, and my wife and I had really talked about traveling some more, like taking a sabbatical, and getting back and keeping the family the focus and our marriage the focus. And we we had just had our third child, and I come home, it's only like a month-old baby. She's nursing our month-old baby. And she had their phone out, and she goes, "Hey, babe, look at this property. We were just talking about investing outside of California." And she goes, "Look at this property." She shows it to me. It's this beautiful farm land, renovated beautifully, this little farmhouse, 1800s farmhouse. It was built in 1880 something. I forget. Wow. but it was so cute and just so adorable. And she's like, yeah, I would love to raise our kids on a property just like this, you know? And so we hadn't even drawn out the map of where we were going to go around the United States, but that house was the first place we were like, okay, let's put that area as a place to invest, because the price, Randy, the price of it was just like, gotta be kidding
coming
me.
from Napa, it was just complete shell shock.
Yeah, I couldn't buy a single bedroom condo for the same amount as this 10 plus acres with a beautiful 2,500 or 2,800 square foot house on it.
Amazing.
With, renovated. It was just nuts. So, so we got a huge map. If I had a picture, I would show it to you. It was this 12 by 8 foot map of the United States.
Oh, like the whole wall.
The whole wall in our kitchen. I mean, literally in our kitchen, we had a huge map of it. It was basically like wallpaper, right?
Yeah.
And we started plotting out places we didn't want to move to. So we literally just started Xing out states, cities, all this stuff. And we made a little list of criteria that we really were looking for. Like, couldn't be this far away from an airport because I travel a lot and speak and things like that. Or had to be, these little, itemized list of like, hey, if you're not going to write it down, you're not going to get it anyway. So we just were like, hey, let's be purposeful about it. And sure enough, we really start cultivating this trip. And as we started reaching out to family members, as we started reaching out to friends in other areas, like we have friends in Michigan, we have friends all over Florida, all kinds of places. And so as we were reaching out to them, they were like, oh, Tim, would you come teach, 6 personal perspectives in our office? Hey, would you come talk about your quantum leap thing? And so we actually created something called the first quantum leap tour, because so many places have heard me teach quantum leap. So you can even go and find it on Facebook if you wanted. It's
that is cool.
The first nationwide QL quantum leap tour. So we kicked it off. We did a bunch of videos and podcasts, even stuff like this. And we kind of just talked about what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And then we sold our primary residence in Napa at that time, freed up a bunch of capital to potentially invest if we found something that was just perfect, like one of those like God things, like, if it was going to happen, we were going to take advantage of it. And so we headed out on our journey early 2020, and COVID had not happened yet, my friend. And so I speak in Sacramento. I get out to Sacramento, do a big event there. About to do another one in Chico.
This is early 2020, like just before this all went south.
Late February, early March is when all this was taking place. Yep. And so March 14th, right after speaking in Sacramento, we go back to our hotel. We're playing in the pool, in the hot tub, go back to our hotel room, wake up in the morning, and my phone just doesn't stop ringing. And my text messages coming through. Hey, we're going to have to reschedule. Hey, so sorry, we have to cancel. And then I look at my email and it's like, Keller Williams says, we are shutting down all in-person events and like all this stuff. And we're like, what's happening?
All the offices shut down, not knowing how to handle it. And oh man.
Yeah. And so here we are. We literally outfitted this vehicle, our car, our big car, into this kind of like cross-country trekking. Travel. And
Mad Max.
Yes, very much so, like that. And so we're like, okay, so the next 10 events of 30 speaking engagements over the next 4 months canceled. And then systematically over the next 3-4 days, pretty much all of them canceled.
Everything.
And so we're like, okay, well, then I guess we're not going to do a speaking tour, that's fine. We'll just go see the places we want to go see. Well, oh, nope. All of the, Crater Lake we were going to go see, can't go in. We drove up to it and they wouldn't let us in, like
no
COVID.
Kidding.
Yeah. We get up to a couple other places. Everything is literally shut down. We're listening to the news, just going like, oh my gosh, the world is like taking this into a degree I've never expected.
Wow.
So luckily we had an Airbnb, this beautiful Airbnb up in McCall, Idaho. No relation to McCall, Idaho.
I think that's awesome. I think I'd move there if my last name was McCall, just act like the mayor.
Yeah, and there's just McCall and everything, McCall, every restaurant, McCall. Yeah.
I love it.
But we we get up there, we have this gorgeous brand new Airbnb. I think that we were like the second people ever to stay in that listing, in that spot, and right on the lake. It was just all snowy and beautiful. And then we wake up the next morning and there's an earthquake. There hadn't been an earthquake there for 50 years.
You're in
We
McCall.
wake up, the chandeliers are shaking.
You're in McCall. There's an earthquake. Hasn't happened in 50 years.
That's right. That's right. We were like, oh my gosh, the pandemic is shutting down the world. All of our speaking gigs are canceled. We can't go see half the places we want to go see. We can't even see the people we were going to visit. We sold our primary residence. We're not going back to Sonoma County, California, and or Napa Valley. We're not going back. But we just were like, what are we going to do? And then we get a call. All Airbnbs are shutting down. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to kick you out. And we're like, and I'm just sitting there, okay, Lord,
And you've got
okay,
3 kids with you?
Yeah, 3 kids. So my
wife, 3 kids.
13-year-old daughter at the time, 13-year-old daughter, 6-year-old son, and a 1-year-old.
Wow.
Yep.
This is quite the journey on many levels.
It is crazy. So my wife's looking at me like, oh my gosh, I mean, we need to really reassess our life at this point. And we were praying a lot about it. And all of a sudden, I get this kind of like strike of lightning, and I go, wait, babe, where was that property you showed me way back in December of 2019? Where was that place? And she goes, you mean like the one in Missouri? And I go, yeah, Missouri. Okay, where in Missouri was that place? And she goes, let me look. And so she's looking through and she finds this thing on this old Facebook page that she had been listening to or watching. And she goes, it was in Springfield, Missouri. And I go, all right, everybody, pack up. We're going to Springfield, Missouri. And so literally we
didn't know anybody in Springfield. It wasn't like family there.
No. I'm like, well, the place did it all. So I was like, heck, we've got to at least go there, and just that was the place that really kicked off this journey. Yeah. And remember, 15 days to slow the spread, right? So like we'll just wait out the 15 days in Missouri.
I remember that statement exactly.
Yeah. And so
I was holding up to going, it's only 2 weeks, man. We'll treat it like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And we all knew where we were when we used to hear those 15
days.
Yep. Remember when people were counting down on Facebook? Do you remember that? People were like, day 5 of the 15 days. Hold together, everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. Stay together, everybody. We got this.
Yeah. And then so we're on our way out there. It takes about 2.5 days or 2 days to get to Missouri from Idaho. And we didn't even know we were going to stay. Right. So we stayed at a couple of hotels. Luckily, there was several hotels that were available on the way there. Yeah. But we find a little Airbnb that was willing to do a short-term rental. So it wasn't an Airbnb at that point. We just did a short-term 1-month rental.
Okay, I gotcha. For
April. So this is April.
Okay.
So we basically move into this house. It has everything we need. It's like it's not like a vacant house or anything. So we just kind of move in, and we start meeting and talking with people around us. And then the people that own the Airbnb, the Flynn's is their name, the lovely, lovely people named the Flynn's. And he's my age, his wife's my wife's age. Our kids are like the same age as their kids. And we just totally hit it off. And they're just lovely, good old salt of the earth, just great people. And our kids are playing down at the river together. The whole world is this point. Remember, I mean, we're talking BLM at this point. We're talking all of the insanity going on. And just rioting and looting and all the stuff. And we're just sitting there in this beautiful Airbnb, playing at the river, talking with these lovely people. And they start telling us of stuff that we should go see and do. So we went to Dogwood Canyon Park. We went to go see the Johnny Morris, big Bass Pro Shop headquarters in Springfield. Wow. I had no idea.
I didn't either.
Yeah, these gorgeous golf courses and just tons of people. And people aren't afraid. People out here were just like, whatever. We're going to get on with our lives.
You're in middle America.
Yeah. And not that people weren't, necessarily getting sick, I would say. But I mean, our hospitals weren't overwhelmed. Yeah. People just didn't seem to really be affected that much here. And on my wife's birthday, April 19th, I had created this little menu of things to do, like that she could choose if she wanted to do them. So like there was like 3 or 4 options.
Like a little multiple choice here.
Yes. Like you want to sleep in, you want breakfast in bed, you want to gone.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, bro.
And so in the afternoon, in the afternoon, I had one of the options was to go look at property, So so she chooses that one. We get lunch and we head out and we go out and look at a bunch of, like, I'd say 5 different places that we had
Okay.
kind of chosen with land and some of those
Yeah.
same kind of parameters. Well, we end up about 10 minutes north of Springfield. So 10 minutes
Okay.
north of town. It's just a bunch of country and farms and places like that. And but there's this little lake with this house on it, Swedish architecture, but it was way more work than we wanted. And so we ended up leaving that house. That was the last house we were going to look at that day.
Okay.
And we head back a different way than when we came in. And I kid you not, quarter mile up the road, we're driving up the road, and I am driving along, and I look over and I go, babe, that is the house.
Oh my God.
That is the house that you showed me. And she goes, no. And I go, look, it has that thing. Like, I pointed it out, and sure enough, she pulls it up and she goes, it is. And we look out on the land, and there's people out on the land, like they're looking at the property. And I'm like, this is 5 months. This is 5 months.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I'm like, huh. And then sure enough, we drive a little bit farther, and there's a sign, an actual listing sign that's on the property. And I'm like, this can't be back on the market. And I look it up. Sure enough, came back on the market that day.
That day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
And
so it had fallen out of contract twice during that 5-month period, during the middle of COVID and all that stuff happening. With all the uncertainty, I could totally understand why that would be. But the buyers apparently that were in the contract literally disappeared. Apparently, we talked later after all this happened, and apparently
Right.
those the buyers that were in contract before we were, just literally fell off the face of the planet. No one knows what happened.
Kidding.
Yeah. So we put in an offer. I'd called the Keller Williams office.
Let's roll backwards. So 5-6 months earlier, you find a house totally arbitrary on the internet.
Yep.
It's in Springfield, Missouri. You're in Napa.
Yeah.
You decide to make this trip across the country just because, not really heading to Missouri by any stretch, right?
Yeah, it was a 20,000-mile journey around the United States.
Wow, very cool. So kind of like the bucket list family, right?
Exactly. And
that's so cool.
We put in an offer. So I'd called the Keller Williams office, got in touch with an agent locally
crazy.
Put in an offer. They counter us. And this was quite a bit less than asking that we offered, because it didn't have a few things that we really were like, I don't know, it doesn't have this, doesn't have that. If it had those things, maybe we would have offered.
But you've sold your house in Napa by now, so you're sitting cash heavy.
Yes.
Ready to go if you need to.
Well, and needing to put that money somewhere soon, right? I
True.
mean, And so, but we had figured we had, timed if we were going to find something or not at that point. But anyway, so we get countered. We counter them, and then we don't hear anything for 2 days. And we're sitting at dinner, and I have my daughter pray for dinner, and she's like, Lord, help us get this house. If we get this house, then we know we're supposed to live in Springfield, or like whatever. I can't remember exactly how she said it, but it was something like that. And I kid you not, she says, amen. I reach for the potatoes. My phone rings, we get the house.
Oh my God.
It was immediate.
Within 10 seconds.
It was less than 10 seconds. It was probably 5.5 seconds. It was like literally, I reached for the potatoes. I grabbed the scooper to put the sewing on. My phone rings. I'm like putting the thing back in the potatoes to reach to get my phone. And she's like,
this is crazy.
Well, you're gonna you're gonna own part of Missouri, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, that's a God thing at a highest level.
Yeah, and so get this, at the we had our lease, our short-term rental.
Yeah.
At that point, we had 8 days basically move out, and on the last day of our short-term rental, we moved in to our house 6 days later or whatever, and it was literally, I know, yeah.
That
so
story
it was you don't get much more perfect alignment with timing.
That story blows my mind.
Yeah.
How could you possibly get any different? Not only, you're driving to Missouri, you've never been there, driving around, seeing the exact house that you saw. I mean, that's, I hear these stories, and actually I'm a recipient of these stories on my vision board. but I've heard stories of people putting the houses on vision boards and then 5 years later digging out an old vision board and they're living in that house.
Yep.
I mean, it's so crazy. I was looking at my vision board recently, Tim, because I need to update it. It's like 5 years old, right? And I moved and it sat there and it was behind the desk and I get it out. And I'm not going to go through every detail, but it gave me goosebumps to look at it. I was like, exact black truck I have in my driveway on my vision board 5 years ago, exact this, exact that, a trailer for my dad. It was the different brand, but the exact length in a white Dodge pickup in the picture, only because the pickup was in the picture for the trailer I was taking a picture of, but my dad has the exact Dodge truck. And so here I've always wanted my dad to buy him a trailer to drive around with. And it was just, there was probably 15 items on my vision board. I was just like, holy moly, this is just, that stuff just is crazy, man.
It is absolutely nuts. And so the last part of the story, and I don't know, how are we doing on time?
We're doing great, man.
Okay.
So now now you're a Missouri resident.
Yes.
Right.
And
now
I'm
what?
just working on I'm working on the land, but literally remember we had been on our journey in our car. So it's not like we were carrying around furniture.
No.
So we had nothing. So we moved into a vacant home. It was
2,800 square foot, 1,800 farmhouse.
Yeah, and it never been lived in, so it didn't even have anything in it. So we were sitting in like lawn chairs and blow-up mattresses, and I had even, set up my projector that I had brought.
At least you got my Bass Pro close by.
I know, dude. You've got to go to that thing. It is unreal. It's an attraction. It's so cool, and it's got like an aquarium built onto the side of it. It's just nuts. Yeah, wow. It's worth coming to Springfield, Missouri, just to go through that place over like a course of 3 days. It's just so cool. Yeah. All right. So one of the things I was going to say, that story didn't really end there, which gets to even more crazy, is that, well, I don't know if it's more crazy, but it's as crazy.
It's not more, but it's as for sure.
Yeah. So it's still the middle of the pandemic and everything, right?
Right.
And I'm like,
now this is about what time frame now?
March 1st. Let's see, April, May.
So April, May, June.
May 1st, we moved into the house.
Oh wow, that was fast.
And then, yep. So I'm just working on the land, clearing some stuff, doing big burn piles to clear out some of the stuff that was just kind of overdue and kind of, it had obvious that they had fixed up the house, but the land was still pretty raw.
Yeah.
And so I did some fencing. I did some fencing around the property by hand. I kind of grew up on property like that, and so working on the land is something I love. And then I reach out to the Keller Williams office locally because I'm just like, hey, I am here. I'm
how can I serve?
Property now, and connecting with the team back home.
Springfield, Missouri resident.
Yeah, and so I just I talked to some of the leadership team, and they go, well, you need to reach out to Dan Holt. And I go, wait, I know Dan Holt. Why do I need to talk to Dan Holt? And they're like, well, he's our operating principal. And I go, no way. Like he and I had taken franchise systems orientation together on one random time, gotten to know each other. And then we took expansion systems orientation way back, maybe 5 years ago. And so I'm like, I know Dan. So I reach out. And we have dinner. We have this great, rekindling of our friendship and such. And I'm like, well, I'm locally. If you need any classes being taught, if you need help with anything, I'm here. So if you need anything, and
wow.
And so he goes, yeah, that's great, man. Oh, let me show you some cool new stuff that we're doing. And I agreed. And about maybe 2 weeks later, he calls me up and he goes, hey, we need to have dinner. I have an idea. And of course, you don't know Dan Holt, but this is just who Dan is. And so I go, yeah, sure, let's do it. So my wife and I have dinner, and he goes, well, I had to make some tough choices, but I ended up having to make a transition with our team leader, our CEO of our office. And he goes, would you be interested in potentially doing that? I'm like, and I had been the team leader for 2 years back in California already at that point, before we took our sabbatical out of California.
Correct.
And I was kind of like, I just did that, I'm not really sure.
Not to mention they have about a 2-year bandwidth of a good team leader, it's about.
That's right. They run you raw, man. They push you hard, right? Well, anyway, so I tell him, I'm not sure. And he goes, well, let me introduce you to our ownership group. Let me introduce you to our leadership group. let me introduce you to our ALC and I'll show you our new building we're going to potentially move into. And so it was getting out of this, they kind of sold me on taking this on. And since then, so once I said yes, and I started like June 1st of 2020. And so this is like just months after we moved in, and we end up, since I've been here in a year and a half, we have recruited 256 agents.
256 in a year and a half. Yeah. You are a beast, man. You're a beast.
Yeah. And that's not just me, obviously. That's
well,
our
of course.
ALP.
But I mean, but that's the leadership, rises and falls on you.
Yeah.
As a team leader. But that means you have a functional office and you guys are making things happen. But you come from success and prodigy, in my opinion, man. I remember you in many capacities in the same market together back then. And
yeah,
what a crazy story. So now running, one of the larger offices in the franchise system, 500 agents on the roster. You have a team back in California still with mom, right? Mm-hmm. Doing 70, $80 million in production there.
Yep.
When do you take over your own state? What's next for you? Are you running for mayor of Missouri or what's, come on?
I will tell you, I talked with my wife, and if she were sitting here, she'd tell you that I got very passionate about the political situation that's in our world today, and just kind of seeing I think everyone has seen a certain level of corruption and sadness in that world. That I don't want to delve into that, but there has been definitely a desire of mine to potentially look at doing something like that. I will say this was just last week. I'm actually preparing to do a big class up in Chicago. So I'll be up in Chicago, flying out Wednesday. I'll be there Thursday, Friday. Cool. And in the process of doing my lesson, getting ready to teach in front of these high level people that within KW it's called the Train the Trainer Advanced. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, yep.
And so one of the things that I'm going to cover, it was about, what is one thing that if you got to the end of your life and you had not accomplished it, how would that make you feel? And, or what's one thing that you're really passionate about that if you didn't do in your time here on earth, what would, and if you didn't do it, why, what would that be like? You remember that there's that book that talks about regret and like the 10 regrets of the dying or something like that. And that was very passionate for me, where I have several inventions. We didn't get to talk about this before, but I have several inventions that one of them in particular I'm really passionate about, that I just think is so obvious and almost like a need in our world.
Right.
And I've never actually gone through the process of, I looked into patenting it. Yeah. I looked into getting, provisional patents and things like that. And
I've been down that road.
It's a world I don't understand. And I feel like, man, there needs to be realtors of that industry. Like, right. I'm actually somewhat passionate about like helping people take something that they're real passionate about and getting it through that weaseling it through that insanity.
I love it. And I told you when we talked the other day and set it up for this podcast and show, we're cut from the same cloth, man. You and I mean, and I'm flattering myself right now because you are a baller. But it's true, the patent process is wonky. I just remember giving a guy like $5,000 or $7,000 and just not knowing what to do in it, and it was just disappointing and a letdown. And after all that time,
Yeah, no, I did almost the exact same thing. I went into a patent office because I was told by a friend to do that, another friend of mine who had an attorney friend that he was giving me some advice, and if it felt corrupt, it felt not right. It did not feel good. And so, but
and since you're announcing your run for candidacy of mayor of, is it Springfield you're going to go? So we'll announce that now with the deep radio DJ voice. Tim McCall announces he's running for mayor of Springfield, Missouri.
Yes, vote for me. Right?
Vote for me. I have a passion. And we're both in the real estate space. I'm a veteran. I was in the Coast Guard, and I'm just literally passionate about a couple things. One of them is streamlining the VA process for veterans, so it becomes the best loan, not the worst loan. And so it's got the easiest way to go through. And I want to take that all the way to Washington. I've just, as my career's coming to a point to where I have more and more time and financial freedom, that is something that I will put resources and energy and time to, because it's just one of those, it's in my heart. You're not, when you have that kind of passion like you do, it's not work, right? That's my time off. I'm like, I'm done working. I get to go do that now. And I love that about you. You have all these mega successful businesses and operations, and you're impacting literally hundreds of lives. And we were in the same circle, Rick Jiha and some of the other brilliant names.
I resound that respect for you, Randy. And I think that you have now you've got this platform you're creating to spread this wealth of knowledge through other people's experiences, and just motivating others. Like there's that quote, it's impossible to motivate unmotivated people. And yet I think that sometimes what we consider to be unmotivated people are people that have never allowed themselves to really dream, or have they've been feeling the weight of the world, that dream or that vision has just been so compacted that it's hard to uncover and spring life back into that. And so I think you are doing a great job at through something like this. And that's one of my life passions, is to help people get back into that purpose. What is it? Why are they getting up every morning? What is it that they want to achieve with their life? And so that is, you asked a good question about what's next, or what is it? And I would say that my coaching is something I'm super passionate about, speaking and teaching all over the country, just like I was going to do with tour. And my wife, been bringing that back up quite a bit. It's like, hey, can't we still do the tour? Like, I would still want to do that.
Right. Exactly.
Like, yeah, absolutely. We actually can't do that.
Oh, I love that, dude.
Yeah.
So, as we start wrapping up here, just maybe a couple questions, because here you have a significant real estate business. Real estate is at the highest it's been in our lifetimes, and probably may never see this again. It just was, it was just, specific, event after event after event that built into all of this lack of inventory and COVID and changing in directions and all this stuff. Where do you see the market going in the next 12 to 24? You've got your finger on the pulse. Just where do you see it 12 to 24? No crystal ball, but what's your opinion? I like to ask that of my brainiacs.
Dude, I love that question, and I'm glad I have a pretty solid answer for you. I'm pretty passionate about studying the markets, reading different, hearing different minds on it. And where I see is a lot of areas like this, Springfield, are areas that people have flocked to in times of uncertainty, like we have seen. And major city centers have, for the large majority, made some major errors during this really testing of our integrity and our ethics as a community in these areas. And so I think that there's been an awakening of like, oh my gosh, this is the leadership I have. I'm out of here. And somebody from California, especially Northern California, and here's two people that are very invested in our community, drivers of business, and we both bounced. All right, I consider myself like a refugee of California, and not to get political or any reason. I mean, anybody that lives in California would hear me and know me when I say that homeless is a major problem. Taxes is outrageous.
The writing's on the wall. Blue, red doesn't matter. The writing's on the wall. When you have to pay 5 times for a U-Haul truck to leave California, but they'll pay you to bring it back to California. Enough said, right?
There's enough said. And yeah, for the first time ever in history, more people have left by hundreds of thousands than have come there in the first time ever. So, I mean, not to get down that road, but I'm going to say,
I get it. Born and raised, right? Born and raised.
Right. Born and raised. And so many people that were in the age range of, I would say, like right now, if people that are in California are between kind of like the 55 to 68 range, they went to California from places like this,
right? For the dream, for the lifestyle, the belief that
yes, and
it was the American dream.
They have a vision of what California and places like it, Washington, New York, coastline areas, big major city centers. There was a draw to them from a community of type of age range. And then they settled there. And people like myself grew up and lived in those areas from young people upward. And I'll tell you, people like myself, 40 and under, were told how great it is our whole lives. And this is where I'm getting with this. This is important. I think that this is a major piece to the future of all of what's going to happen with where people are moving to. People are now realizing that they can live other places and have a life worth living. People are realizing, wait, I can own the boat I want. I can have a huge house and more square footage with land, and I can like raise my kids in a community where the schools actually teach like pro things I'm about,
Right.
and I can have a life worth living and not feel like I'm house poor my whole life.
No.
No way.
And we're going to see increasing.
They're seeing people like me and people that were doing it before me. Like there's one of my best friends, Danny and Sarah. They moved to Illinois and they did it 5 years before I did. And I watched them go out and have a great time and have the toys they wanted for their land and the boat trips and the vacation and just
what is life, Tim, at that age? And more importantly, forget about us. Think about the kids. I mean, you got kids, 13 or under. What about their life? What about the impact of that 5 to 7 year period that they're going to remember living in a badass farmhouse in Springfield, Illinois? I mean, that is what's amazing to me. But you're right. There's a major awakening that the dependency, the mass exodus of people in the workspace, all that stuff is going to impact the market. Rates are at the top of the conversation, but really they're the bottom of the conversation because
I totally agree.
They'd have to move rates 18 times to get some. Well, obviously we'd have impact with a little bit of rates, but that's not what it is. That's not driving inventory and migration.
Yeah, I remember when rates dropped below 5 and everyone was like, whoa, oh my gosh.
Again. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And now if they're 3.5, we're like, dude, I'm not buying until this gets corrected. It's like, we're so out of touch.
There is a hurdle that's grown up, right? There's been a hurdle that's grown up that has created I don't want to call it an entitlement, but something like an entitlement where it's kind of like,
I think that's accurate.
Yeah. And so there will be that hurdle to overcome. But I would say that the more things get and feel uncertain in our country, the more people are going to continue to move. And it's like what we've been talking about here, like the average sales price when I moved out here, in 2020, right after 2019, was $160,000. That was the average sales price.
No kidding.
I didn't even know that was something that was possible. Like, wow. I think the last mobile home that I sold in Northern California was 280,000. Okay. And so that was, it was an okay mobile home, but I'm going to say like, come on, that's just silly. Yeah. And so now get this, now our average sales price as an office of Keller Williams here in Springfield is $248,000.
Yeah. See, that's the argument. The people that have been there, they're like, okay, the other people are moving here, which is great for them, but it's also impacting us, right? Texas, you could buy a mansion for $189,000 just a few years ago. I have a coaching client, KW actually, and she was showing me some of her listings. I'm like, whoop, 3,200 square foot brick house for $209,000. Yeah. And now they're doubled, right? Doubled in the last couple of years.
That's right. And so it's the local communities that have had the average, household income of 50,000 or so that could have bought, and normally, 160,000 was, an okay thing to be able to take on.
Right.
Now that prices have really gotten to that 250,000, and which is still nothing. Okay, and compared to what we are used to, my average sales price in Napa Valley was like 940,000. Okay, so it was like, and Sonoma County is 900,000 average sales price. Yeah.
When I left 5 years ago, it was creeping up into the 480s. Then it went to 650 average sales price, and then the fires happened and all this other stuff. Now it's easily in the mid 8s to 9, right?
Yeah, mid 8s to 9. So and that's our team is 900,000 average. I think the average market is 850, somewhere in there.
Crazy.
But when it comes to these prices, the locals are outbid. The locals can't make it unless it's an in-house or under the wire deal, or somebody who knows somebody who's whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say in order to get top dollar, you're getting on the market and you're getting 15 offers within 2 to 3 days on the market.
So your market's the same as everything else we're seeing, across all the coaching clients and stuff.
Yeah.
So amazing. Well, Tim, it's really been amazing. Just a couple of questions, kind of, I always like to ask them about motivation and headspace and stuff. What 1, 2, 3 books you're reading right now?
Yeah. Great question.
Anything stand out?
Yeah, we just finished reading the MREI. I have a book club that meets once a month on Tuesday mornings, and we just finished MREI.
Millionaire Real Estate Investor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
the main quote that I love to take away from that one is, anyone can do this. Not everyone will. And then it says ... will you?
Right. Exactly.
Right. And there's a class that I teach. You might remember it. It's called the Freedom Plan. Yeah, and it's just building on those investments, and it's staying consistent. Right. And even maybe the Burr method, right? If you follow bigger pockets and things like that. Buy, you renovate, you rent it out, and repeat. So there's all these other things. But I'm going to say what we are starting right now is shift. And
all right.
Yeah.
Like old school, going back to shift and
going back to shift.
No kidding.
There's so many principles in that apply to any market, whether it's
fundamental. And shift was designed in 7 and 8 when we went through that market. So really we're seeing a shift again. So
that's right.
And
then the
that's
last
good.
one I would say, this is my favorite book right now, and that is Multipliers.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Oh,
Multipliers.
Man.
Really? You're digging it?
You have got, I can't tell you, Randy, you are going to love that.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it basically, just to kick it off a little bit, I would just say that there's diminishers in your life, and then there are multipliers in your life.
Oh, yeah, you're right up my alley with that one.
Sometimes there's the most brilliant people in your world, the most really just genuinely talented, brilliant people in your world. They can be the diminisher of the people around them. And so really the real geniuses that are actually that intelligent and that capable and so forth, if they can actually be the ones to draw out the genius in the people around them and the talent around them.
Wow.
That I'm telling you, Randy, I can't wait. We're gonna do another one of these.
I love it. I love it. I'll get it right away. I love getting great book advice. And
yeah,
I mean, I did 75 Hard with Andy Frisella, and it's 10 pages a day of a book, but I just started devouring books. I was literally going through 3 books a week. And I was like, I'm not a reader. I started reading maybe only about 7 years ago when I was teaching with Keller Williams and kind of, really focused on the growth and mindset. I started engaging in that, but now I'm just a voracious reader. I just love it, and I'm That's reading Extreme Ownership right now, the Jacko Navy SEAL. And I thought it was a newer book, but it's actually about 5 years old or so, but I can't put it down. It's just, I was like 45 pages into it. And I called my team and I'm like, we're changing everything. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And it's just, I love that stuff though.
I met him, not in person, but via Zoom. I had him actually speak via Zoom, the author.
No kidding.
At one of our team meetings.
I'm putting it out to the universe right now. I want to interview Jacko. I want to meet this guy. I'll fly wherever he is, but I love this guy. I want to go meet him. And actually, he's in a couple of my circles in Utah. So listen, brother, I really appreciate you being here. Tell people how they can get a hold of you if they want to reach out.
Yeah, my name is Tim McCall, and I am my cell phone number is still my California phone number. It's a 707 area code 481-4054. That's my direct cell, and my email is tim.mccall@kw.com.
I love it, brother. You're a good man. I know we're competitors in the environment, if you will, but we've always been great friends, and I don't think there are competitors when you're focused on brilliant people and mindsets and all ships rise with a rising tide, right?
It's an abundance thing. There's more than enough to go around, my friend.
Absolutely. I love you, brother. Thank you for being on the show today. You're the best. And I really, really enjoyed your story.
Thank you.
The best to you and your family, the Robinsons out there in Springfield, Missouri, making life happen.
The Robinsons. I like that. Yeah.
I'm just kidding, but you see where I was going with that.
I know. I love that movie. All right.
I love it, brother. I appreciate you, man. High five. Bam.
High five. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for your time.